Hi, Jane. How are you?
Fine.
It's good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Are you ready for this adventure?
Oh, what fun! I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, tell me the story of your first big cut.
Well, my first cut, I got signed to a publishing company fairly quickly.
Okay.
Merit Music was the name of the company. It's now Hori Pro.
Okay.
And it was a fabulous experience for me because I was working with seasoned writers, and so I was learning the trade, as it were, because of course songwriting is a craft, not only just an art, but it's a craft, as you know. So I'm learning the craft of commercial songwriting. It was fabulous. And my publisher at the time, Dave Burgess was his name, he said, look, Jane, you know, you're writing great songs, but they're all very pop and R&B, and you need to write country. We're in Nashville. And I had never actually written a country song. So first country song I wrote got recorded, and I was thrilled. And it was recorded by Tammy Wynette, which was amazing.
Talk about hitting like a big
hit
home
the ground
run.
running, yeah, for sure. And the song is called After Dark, and it's just an up-tempo, fun little, my idea of what a country song should be.
You have so many different cuts and
I've
hits
been very lucky.
over
I really
the years.
have been very blessed.
But one of them really stands out to me in particular, and that's the Reba song. In December of '87?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
December of '87. It was great. It
So
was fun.
What was the story behind that? Was that more of a personal story?
Oh, it was not more of a personal story. It was a very personal story. I actually co-wrote it with a young friend of mine at the time. Her name is Matresa Berg.
Okay.
And Matresa and I were actually living together.
Okay.
We were roommates. And one evening, I said to her, do you think there's ever been a song called The Last One to Know? And because I had been having a conversation with someone about that, and I said, yeah, I guess I was the last one to know. And I thought, gee, that would be a good title for a song. And of course, Matresa, being much younger than I am, was like, what do I know? There's been a song called, but it sounds like a good idea.
Right.
And so we wrote it, and it was very personal. And of course, I took poetic license and made some interesting changes, but it was very personal. And the fun part about it is when it did go to #1 and became a very big hit for Reba. I got my first gold album, and then it went multiple platinum. But when it went gold, I had someone take a picture of me standing in front of the gold album, and I sent it to my ex-husband, who I wrote. And I in those days we had Polaroids, and it was a Polaroid, and I took a Sharpie, and on the top of it I wrote, "Success is the best revenge."
Oh, I love that story.
So, which is true. But
wow, that's great.
Yeah, it was.
That's
awesome.
great. Can we sing a little bit of it?
Oh, sure we
All
can.
Right.
She sings it a step higher than I do. Oh my gosh. Oh my
What's some pipes?
Woo! She's amazing.
It would be easier to face the morning if you were holding me tonight. You left me without a warning, and I'm holding on to heartache while she's holding you tight. Tell me why is the last one to know, the first one to cry, and the last to let go. Why is the one left behind, the one left alone with no one to hold, the last one to know? Is there any advice that you would pass on to writers nowadays?
Oh, plenty. When I teach my course, I ask the writers, what is it that's motivating you? Some of them will say, oh, I want to be rich and I want to be famous and I want to meet the stars, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's fine, you know. But being rich and being famous, it's not likely that it's going to happen. It can, but it's not likely. It's like the lottery.
Right.
But if you're doing it because you want to make music, and this is how you want to spend your life, just making music. You'll make music, you'll make a living. You may not make millions of dollars, but you'll be happy, and you'll be successful at what it is you're doing. So I always say, expect the best and prepare for the worst.
There you go. There you go. No, that's fantastic advice. But when was the moment that Jane said to Jane, I think I'm a songwriter? Do you remember that?
I do remember it. It's funny. I do, because I've always written. So one day I was writing, and I didn't know what to do with it. I didn't know what to do with it or where to go with it. And I lived in New York, so I started going. I went down to the Brill building, and I made an appointment to meet with somebody. And of course, they told me, go back and take care of your kids. You know, they were very rude. And but it doesn't stop me. Nothing stops me. When I make up my mind to do something, nothing stops me. And I was listening to the radio one day, and John Denver came on the radio, and it was Country Roads, and I thought, I can do that. I mean, talk about arrogance. It was either sheer arrogance or sheer stupidity, but I thought, I can do that. And that was the day, and it just was a switch in my brain. I thought, well, who do I send my songs to? And I thought, who is my favorite songwriter? And it was Neill Diamond. I just loved his writing. And he was a kid from New York City, just like me, and I thought, we have a lot in common. So I had all his albums, and I looked on the back of his album to see who his publisher was, because I did learn from going into New York City and talking to those people that publishing was the way to go. So, and I remember it said Stonebridge Music. I did not know that was his personal publishing company. Okay. But I put 3 songs together. I sat down at my piano. Again, the arrogance, the stupidity. And I sat down at my piano and played my 3 little songs. And I don't mean to demean them by calling them little, but I thought they were great. Of course, looking back, they really weren't. But I played them, and I had one of these reel-to-reel little, recorders, right? Put it on the piano. And I sent it off to him with a cover letter saying, I grew up in New York City like yourself, and I'm a songwriter. I'm not a singer. I don't want to be a performer. I just want to write. And, I'd like to know what you think of these songs. Like, he's going to stop in his busy day and write. So about, a month or 2, it was a long time ago, about a month or 2 goes by, and my then husband says to me one day, someone's on the phone and says it's Neill Diamond. And I'm like, what? And of course I got on the phone, and I thought it was one of my friends, but it wasn't. He actually said to me,
it was Neill Diamond.
It was Neill Diamond. He actually said to me, what do you want me to do? Sing Sweet Caroline? And I said, oh my God, I named my daughter Caroline. And I did. I named her Caroline. Anyway, so he said, look, I'm going to be, I don't want to take up any of your time. And I'm like, you can take up my life. I don't care.
This is Neill Diamond.
Very, very kind. And he said, you can write. He said, you've got it. He said, but you have to learn how to do it.
Did you ever talk to Neill after that about that moment?
Never.
Okay, Neill Diamond, if you're out there, you're responsible.
You're responsible for my hits.
Jane coming here and making fantastic hits. So I know we could go on for hours about all this stuff, but I want to talk about the Jody Messina cut because, one of the hardest things I think to do is to write positive, up-tempo country songs.
Yes.
What's the story behind that song?
Well, actually, that was an idea that was brought to me.
Okay.
I was writing for Warner Chappell.
Okay.
I was with Warner Chappell for a long, long time. And I had a good friend. Her name is Adrienne Falizet. And Adrienne and I wrote together. And we had a writing appointment. And she came in and she had the first verse of that song completely done. She said, I'm just not sure where to go with it. And we did it. My son had just recently gotten engaged, one of my sons, and so I thought, oh, this is young and in love, and and that's where we went with it. Don't tell us we're crazy. You're only wasting your breath with
make it all happen. It's just a matter of
That's where I wrote it, right there at Warner Chapel.
still young and in love, and we just believe we can be strong and do anything if we dare to dream.
She goes, that's not my treat. Oh my God, how
She's
embarrassing.
stuck up.
She's used to chicken jerky.